from South Wales. It's nice to see you. Beautiful South Wales. If you've never been to South Wales, I'd recommend the trip here. It's a beautiful place. But today, I'm going to be talking about breathing, and it may turn out to be quite a long video. I make no apologies for that, because this is to help you to breathe, and the reason for that is if you can't breathe, really nothing else matters, does it? As we know, anyone that's been into that situation where you're gasping for breath and you're panicking because you can't breathe. So we've got to learn to breathe. We've got to become conscious of breathing, because what we've done is we've forgotten how to breathe. So we have to be conscious of how we breathe in to actually make things easier. And the way we do this, we do it as breathe into numbers. Now, when I say breathe into numbers, you may think, well, that's a little bit dramatic, isn't it? But, you know, lots of people use numbers, lots of trades, the armed forces use it. I remember going 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1 during training, and dancers, trapeze artists, and all sorts of people use numbers in their performances. Most of us suffer from an obstructive disease, COPD, which is obstructive, there's emphysema, and bronchitis is also obstructive. Now, what this actually means for us is that we can't breathe out tidy. We've lost the elasticity, if you like, in our lungs, and we just can't get the air out. We can get the air in, there's no problem at all, and what happens is we're getting air in but no air out, and your lungs are ballooning like a balloon, and this is what's actually causing the problem. Now, if you've got sarcoidosis, it's the opposite way. You have problems getting the air in, you can't get the air out. Both these techniques that I'm going to talk about will help you both, but it'll probably help the obstructive more than on the sarcoidosis side, which incidentally, I had sarcoidosis myself at one time in my 20s, for quite a long time, and I had a dose of steroids because of that. So the way we start to learn is we breathe into the count of 2, through the nose, and you breathe out to the count of 4. So and if you find that the 2 to 4 ratio isn't right for you, because, you know, we are separate, you know, we're different people, we aren't an all size fits all, you may find that breathing into 2 and breathing out to 5 is more suited to you, or breathing into 3, breathing out to 6, and whatever. The main thing is that you always try to breathe out at least twice as long as you breathe in. This is helping to expel. Now, we also use the pursed lips breathing as well. Pursed lips breathing is not like blowing out a candle. You remember the birthday cake come along when you were young, had to blow all the candles out? I couldn't do it now. Pursed lips breathing is more like blowing on some hot food or a spoonful of soup, say, and you get the message, right? So it's to 2, to 4, and repeat, and repeat. And while you're doing this, concentrate on the breathing in on your abdomen. Put your hand on your abdomen, that's your belly, and as you breathe in, you should feel your belly rising. And as you're breathing out, pursed lips, you should feel your abdomen going in. Let your abdomen go in as far as you're comfortable with, because your lungs is right down there as well. And by pushing it all out, you're expelling more out, you'll get the air into your lungs and you're oxygenating yourself better. It does take practice to do that, but if you keep using this system, you will become used to it. It took me quite a long time to use that, and but even now I do forget it sometimes. It'll help you in many situations. One is climbing the stairs. Now, you climb the stairs, you may need to stand at the bottom and oxygenate yourself up before you do it, because to many of us the stairs is a rather frightening thing. It's a bit like climbing Mount Everest, I always say when I look up the top of my stairs. So you take 2 steps in, 2 breaths in, and as you're breathing in, 1, 2 flights of stairs. So then you breathe out the count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the message. And you breathe in again, and you go another 2 flights of stairs until you reach the top. Most people have about 13 steps, I don't know what they call it. 13 steps. Supposed to be an unlucky number, but ours is 13. But that will help you to climb the steps. And each time you do that, you will actually find it easier. There's other situations, and one I particularly find it useful is getting dressed and undressed. Say particularly getting undressed. To give you an example, I'm putting my trousers on, I sit on the bed, I've got my trousers in front of me, I breathe into the count of 2. As I'm breathing out to the count of 4, I put one leg into one side of my trousers. Then I stop and I breathe into the count of 2 again. And as I'm breathing out the count of 4, I put the other leg and the other side of the trousers. And then I breathe in again, I'll stand up and I'll pull my trousers up around my waist and sit down again. And that helps enormously. And you can do that with the rest of your clothing. If you have to lean over to pick something up as well, you would find that much more easier than just breathing any old way. And this can also be used in the shower. It can help you, but at the shower what I would advise there is to reduce the humidity by perhaps turning the temperature down a little bit. The thing that is useful is if you're going to, or you want to get a little bit of a walking exercise, are supermarket trolleys. Now, it didn't take me long to realise, even with oxygen, that if I put the oxygen in the top of the trolley and then I leant onto the trolley, that it was much easier to actually walk. And this is for the same reason that some people with COPD use a stroller that maybe have a seat on, and they push it and they're leaning over and they're pushing their trolley away, and they can go much further than they could otherwise go. This is because you're leaning forward, there's not so much pressure on your lungs and on your abdomen and all your bits that help you breathe. If you think of your stomach, it's, if you've got a little bit of a stomach, which I have, you've got all that weight on your tummy. And if you're leaning forward, you're taking the weight off your diaphragm muscles, which are flattened by this weight, which we can't get rid of, So, so if you lean forward, you'll help it and you'll breathe better. And this is another thing with breathing, that when you're doing something, if you find that you're getting really out of breath, stop what you're doing, because it is supply and demand. We can't sometimes supply what our body needs. We can't supply the demand. So stop what you're doing, and that will help you get it back. Well, some call closing the chain. If you lean forward, helps you breathe better. If you're sitting down and you put your hands on the tops of your knees and you lean forward. That would also help you. Or you could just lean, I'm sitting by a table, I could just lean like that in front of my table, and that will help you also. So these are little tips that will help you. I hope that's helped you, and I hope that you, if you do get a lot of breathlessness, that you use some of these tips, because they certainly helped me, and it took me quite a long time to tag on that, how to use them to the best effects. Another thing with breathlessness is that I found a problem with, and many of us will have, is if you go out to a restaurant and you've got to the restaurant and you haven't been out of breath, you've been fine, you know, you walk in the restaurant, you're great. You have a meal, you might have a drink or two, you get up to leave and you're very, very breathless. This is, the reason for this is your stomach has grown, you've got a bit of bloating through what you've eaten, and that's actually pressing on your abdomen, your lungs and everything, and that's making it harder to breathe. So my advice there is, when you go to a restaurant, be careful. Make sure you don't have too much of a meal or too much of a drink. If you've got very severe COPD, it's best to have little and often than a big meal, you know. And another thing with having a big meal, of course too late, is that you can get acid reflux. Quite a lot of us have acid reflux, and this in turn will also affect your breathing. Anyway, that's that for now. I'm sorry it's been a little bit long. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope these tips are helping you, and I thank you all for the terrific support that I'm getting, and I have noticed there are very many followers of this at the moment. Take care, breathe easy, and I'll be back again soon. Bye bye.